All right.
Exciting.
Welcome back.
So exciting. I love our new intro.
Me
Yes.
too.
We are fancy now.
We are fancy.
Yes. So it
Official.
looks great. Thank you for doing that, Amanda.
Yes.
No
And
worries.
for
No
those who are
amazing.
joining us, we're happy to be back with our bi-weekly Expert Style Lounge, where we talk style and all things related to your image. And today we have a hot topic, and it
No
is
pun intended. The hot
yeah,
topic, hot
hot
flashes.
I'm kidding about that. Oh, we thought this was a really good topic to dive into
Yep.
because I'm sure so many women can relate to the things that we ourselves are going through right now, which is perimenopause. All three of us are in this part of our life, and we were talking the other day about how it impacts, just how you present yourself and your style and what you're wearing every day so that
Yep.
you feel like your best self. And let's be real, it is a little stressful because body changes, we're getting hot flashes, we're feeling different, and brain fog, and we're gonna get into it today. Right, ladies? We have a lot to cover.
I'm excited. And for our gentlemen viewers, this is obviously not specifically directed to you. So if you would we would love for you to be here to support your partner. So
yes,
you want a little insight from the ladies that are here, that we're going to chat about everything. Please stay and please stay tuned because we will get into it.
Yes, absolutely. So here we are. We ready to dive in? Amanda, you want to kick us off?
Yes. So excited. So we three were chatting about this and we were like, we definitely need to bring this to our audience, and thank you everybody for watching. And if there is something that we don't cover, we would love to cover it later. So please pop any comments, any questions, whatnot into the chat and we will get back to you. So we are excited to chat about this. So digging in about perimenopause, and I popped this on so that I could read some facts of this because it's just, quote unquote, something that happens. And then if my computer would work correctly, it would be even better. But that is just, never know when that's going to happen.
A little bit much.
Well, but there we go. So getting into, what is it? What's happening? So it is, as some of you might already know, might already be going through it. It's a transitional phase. It might last for, a little bit. It might last for a long bit. Apparently, it can start even earlier than I thought that it could start. It could start early as 35, and it starts at about 35 to 45. Some people earlier, some people later, but early signs. And again, just real quick disclaimer, we are not doctors. This is not doctor advice. We are just having personal conversations about, perimenopause, menopause, style, comfiness. We are going to talk a bit about supplements and a bit about exercise, but personal to us. So please don't take any of this as, medical advice, doctor advice, because we are style and image consultants, but women, but not doctors. So again,
no.
But so just like changes to your cycle, mood changes, sleep disruption, hormonal fluctuations, drop in estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Like each of us have all three. Hot flashes, mood swings, brain fog, hair thinning and shedding. Yay, fun. It's so much fun. Just so many things to look forward to. Weight changes, especially around the midsection, chest tenderness, without getting, too specific and have, YouTube or anybody, cancel us. But yeah, thinking about all of that going on, and you are still, bad bleepity bleep lady, taking care of your family, running your life, maybe corporate America, maybe solopreneur, maybe entrepreneur, maybe, just going and doing and making sure that like you look good and you feel good while dealing with all of this fun that I just went over.
Yes.
So that said, I would love to open up the floor and, Tavia, Courtney, whoever wants to jump in first of like, if you want to get super personal, like this is what you're going through and this is how you're styling your clients, styling yourself. But I'd love to, chat about style and how while we're going through this, we can still look fabulous and be a wee bit more comfortable.
I'll kick it off. I think for myself, I started dealing with these symptoms, it was about 2 years ago, I think, when they really started to get more intensified. I felt like I had some signs of it, but didn't really bother me very much until about 2 years ago. And that's when I started to realize like, oh, I'm really in the perimenopause phase, because I started to notice all those things that you just were talking about, getting the hot flashes.
That's when you're
feeling
like,
the brain fog. Yeah, that was a really big one.
Yep.
Brain fog is a big one. And just feeling like, I'm gaining weight, feeling off. And I'm starting to notice like my body changing. And, again, I was like working out with a trainer and not losing weight in the middle. I'm getting toned, but the weight in the middle is going nowhere. So I'm like, this is interesting, but it's just, this is what it is, right? And things that we have to realize. And so that's when, I'm thinking nobody's talking about this. Like,
I feel like it's
nobody
definitely
says
not brought
anything
up as often as it needs to be.
No. And I felt like I was kind of suffering in silence in a way, because I'm like, well, if nobody, who do I ask? Like, where do I go?
Yep.
You just feel a little lost. I am glad that I found a couple people like on Instagram, and then Oprah did a special recently about, perimenopause, menopause. Yeah. And Halle Berry was on there, and there's a couple actresses now that are talking about this. And also somebody I follow who wrote a book. And so I'm like, wow, I'm glad I found these resources, because honestly, where else am I going to find this information? It's not like the doctor says like, oh, hey, by the way, these things are going to happen to you and you should look out for these changes. And I'm like, so I have to wait to like figure it out on my own. And then I went to the doctor and I spoke to them about it. And that's when I was like, but I still feel like they don't know a lot. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like that too, for sure.
Yeah, it's like they don't really know what kind of answers to guide you. I remember I got handed a piece of paper about a year ago, and she was like, well, you should read up on this. And then maybe we can like, if the symptoms are bad enough, we can like, prescribe something. But I'm like, but what are my options?
What are you prescribing? Right.
Yeah. And it's like bad enough. Like, but like, what is the, how am I gauging that? Like,
exactly. Because it's different for everybody, right?
Yes.
I went to a wellness event last Thursday, and a big part of it was discussing these types of changes. And one of the things, because both of them were, they're independent, like one of them was an ER doctor. She also is an entrepreneur, but the other, it was just helping women through this, right? It's like, they're like a team. But anyway, one of the points that the doctor made was that you're right, Tavia, many of them are not trained in this, right?
No.
They don't have the answers. So you do want to make sure you're going to a specialist or someone who supports it, who really understands what you're going through and can guide you in the right directions. Like, we have a lot of misinformation about the hormones, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how to use
that study that came out a few years ago that was like, it's bad, don't do it.
Yeah. And it scares a lot of people away, but it can be actually beneficial for the right person. And so you really need to find the specialist who can look at your situation and properly advise you so that you don't suffer in silence. And seek out those communities, because they're there. We're saying no one ever talks about this. There are some communities that are, you just have to seek them out and become a part of them so that you can be well educated about it, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Because all of our symptoms are different. We go through things differently. And you don't want to think you're crazy because someone else doesn't have the same thing that you have.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Right.
like you said, something is off. So
Yes.
the resources are there. Just make sure you're going to somebody that you can trust and somebody who,
Yes.
really knows what they're talking about so that you can get the relief.
Mhm.
A lot of women are suffering.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. Which is, why we're talking about this day, because we, sometimes are working with our clients that are going through it. And so,
Yeah.
we
Yep.
understand going through it ourselves, how to help better serve our clients that are going through it. And we understand, like, you don't feel the same that you did,
Right.
just even a few years ago. For some of my clients, it's
Right.
like,
Or
oh my
you
gosh, they're like the same age as me,
right. Or you wake
some of
up in the
them.
morning and you're like, whose face is this? Because this isn't the
Yeah.
face that I went to bed with. Like, what is happening?
Exactly.
Yep.
I think they said there was upwards of I think I'm underestimating it. I want to say she said 80 or 90 different symptoms. I mean,
Oh
it's
my.
Yes.
something really crazy. And
That
if
is
you're
Yes.
insane.
experiencing multiple symptoms, right, it becomes even
Yes.
more, unbearable at times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of ridiculous. And then for
Yes.
me, I'm very similar to Tavia. I've been having symptoms for I think about like 2.5, 3 years, and navigating it quietly and by myself, which is super, super fun. And then I have so many clients that are going through it right now, and it's just I feel so you know just angry at like the system, and then just wanting to be there for support, because it's just such a odd change. We'll just put the
Yes.
word out there, change to go through, because some days you feel great, some days you wake up and like your mood is totally different, some days your
Mhm.
clothing fits, some days you have like a little belly pooch that you never ever had before, and it's like,
Mhm.
how do I dress this? How do I go throughout my day? Like, I still have board meetings, I still have to show up for me and my family, I still have to give this presentation. And
Mhm.
I, for myself, just recently styled up one of my clients who's going to be giving a presentation and who has been starting to go through these and is like, I think something's happening. Like, are you going through this? And I love just being able to get that personal with my
Mhm.
clients to help them out, because it is
Mhm.
such a just odd time. But,
Right.
popping her in a great suit. I know some people love suits, some people don't love suits, but for a presentation, she was very excited to have that, and just did it with cotton and did it with linen, so that if she did have some kind of a hot flash, like, she would still be cool and breathable. And I think that's something that each of us really start to move our lady clients over. And then obviously summer's coming, so it's like a double whammy. But
Yep.
having that breathability of the fabric and not having those synthetic fibers, close to your skin, that's just going to make you feel,
Yes.
worse, and then clammy, and then just, gross for the rest of the day. And then also very specific cuts of clothing are much more helpful when you do have like a little bit of a belly pooch that you're like, what
Mhm.
is happening? Like, I didn't have this like last week. Like, what's going on? And then, like, structured for me, again, blazers, love those, single button blazers are awesome with a strong shoulder to give you that inverted triangle is awesome. And then ruching, and then, certain cinches of your waist. I love a high-waisted pant, jean, etc. And it's just like, I love being able to get real with my clients and talk to them about what exercises I might be doing, what supplements I might be taking, and what clothing is great for them to start thinking about. So before we get into exercises and supplements completely, I would love to hear what you ladies, are putting your lady clients in for clothing to like, oh my, help me during this time in my life. Yeah.
Wow. I think you hit on it. Fabric is everything, right?
Yep.
Choosing the right fabrics. So things that are breathable, but also things that are not skin tight, right? I mean, we're women of a certain age. So like, caftans and, different jackets and things that will help you feel elevated, but don't necessarily aren't dressy per se, right? And you can find not only different fabrics, but different colors and, different styles that speak to who you are. So I think those things are really helpful. Jersey knits, right? And, just again, breathable and comfortable things. And you can still look put together, but have fabrics that support you in this season. So I think that's important to understand. So,
yep, exactly.
So one thing, even for myself, it's like, I've gained a little weight in the middle and I don't want to accentuate that, right? But I still want to look polished and put together. So basically what I've been teaching my clients is like layering is key. Like you don't want to wear something that looks like oversized or it's like covering you. So you still need to like wear a shirt that's tucked in, right? That gives you the waist. But instead of like, if you feel uncomfortable because it's like, oh, I'm tucking it in, but now my belly shows. But wear a layer, wear a blazer, wear a vest, because the vest or the blazer will cover that, but you're still defining your waist, So there's ways to style your look so that you don't feel like I'm just going to wear clothes that are comfortable, right? Because then those clothes don't look elevated, sometimes. And so that's one thing, and loose fitting clothing, right? Like things that are a little looser, but still give you that, the rule of thirds, like, and we can talk about that a little bit more, but like that have, the eye that really helps define, the waist and break up the body so that it's not like looking like it's
like a
it's
paper bag.
yes, basically. That's it, right? And sometimes that's hard because we just think like we want to be comfortable, we want to cover up the middle section because that's like we're we're not used to that maybe, or it feels like embarrassing, or you just like, oh my god, I gained weight. So it's your nature to want to cover it, but it's actually not doing you a service by covering it, because then it just basically looks, like a paper bag. Yeah.
Right.
So
like you can look schleppy, you can look unpolished, and
unpolished.
Like, once you catch yourself in a mirror and or see yourself later in a photograph, you might be like, oh, I wish I didn't wear that, which I hear a lot of clients before they come to me, they're like, ugh. And it's the hard part, and exactly what you're saying, Tiva, is that like you want to cover up. You're like, oh, I'm this is happening. Like I just want to like crawl somewhere, go somewhere. But you unfortunately, like you do become the shape of your clothing. So you thinking that you're covering, and you're like, well, I'm more comfortable if I'm covered, but then you just become the shape of your clothing. So having that defined waist, having that, balance of top and bottom, and just giving a really great overall shape is just so much better. And it might feel like a little awkward, and like you're saying, go against what you're thinking, but just always defining your waist will always make you just look better, feel more polished. You'll catch yourself in a photograph or in the mirror and you'll be like, wow, I might not be having such an awesome day because I have the brain fog and I have mood swings, so much fun during the day, but I look good, and that can like up my confidence and make me feel better. And I love, very similar to what TV was saying, a great like high-waisted pant, a top that has like a puff sleeve or a padded shoulder, strong shoulder, and then doing that long coat, trench, whatever, and or a longer line blazer. And it's great for your overall shape is that it raises the line of demarcation for your waist, gives interest up top, and then a jacket over or a blazer over will just give an overall great shape, and you'll look polished, easy, and very tall.
Right.
Yes.
And so the value in that is when you have a wardrobe that supports all those things, when you have the brain fog, when you're not feeling your best, when you're out of it, you have these go-to pieces, right, that you can rely on. And you're not
Your
having to
capsule
think
wardrobe.
about it so much. Right,
Yes.
right. You've
Yes.
got this capsule that supports you, and you're not having to worry so much about, oh, what am I going to wear today? Because you've already done the legwork and made it much easier by having that
Yes.
very aligned wardrobe. So when we say capsules, that's exactly why, right? So that
You don't have to
things
think
can
about
be
it.
streamlined and much easier, and eliminates all of the decision fatigue,
Yeah.
so that you can just simply show up in those times where you may not feel like it, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. And less stress. Like, the last thing you want is like rushing to get out the door in the morning. Either like you're just running behind yourself that morning, or you're having to get your partner ready, you're having to get your children ready, and to be able to just go in your closet and grab those pieces, because everything goes with everything, is just so stress less and just easy peasy, and gets you out the door feeling ready to go, knowing that you have the breathable fabrics and you can tackle anything that comes at you that day.
Exactly.
Love it.
Yeah. And also, each of us are obviously, stylists, so we'd love to help. If you have specific questions, or if you would like to work with us, we would love to help you and create that capsule wardrobe. So now let's transition a little bit, because we've had such fun talking. It's already been 22 minutes, but love to just discuss, and ladies, your comfort level, share what you are comfortable with, but any exercise changes that you've started, or any different supplements that you've started doing. And again, disclaimer, we are not doctors or medical professionals. This is just our personal experience that we're going to talk about.
That's right. So for me, it's definitely focusing on lifting weights and doing more weight training versus a ton of cardio, which before I would have been like cardio queen. And
now we have to worry
just
so much about bone health.
Yes, so much about your bones. So you need, we should be really lifting weights when you hit your 40s. That should be the focus anyway. Now with the perimenopause stuff, that's really
even
gonna
more so.
even more so. So be focusing on that. And like for me, I switched that a while ago. So I do a lot of weight training, or I take classes where they focus on weight training. Today I took a HIIT class. We did a lot of weight training.
You can do a quick app, at
Yeah,
home.
you could
If
do
you
an
don't have a
app.
ton of time, there's
Exactly. Do an app. They say, even if you did like a 20-minute workout a day, if you don't have time to do like these like hour-long things, it's helpful. So that's one thing. I'm also taking, actually, I didn't start taking it yet, but I was reading up on it, and I actually did ask a doctor. Signing on a new client who's actually a doctor, and we were talking about this because she is a gynecologist, and so she said that if you take magnesium at night, it will help you sleep better. And what I had already been doing is I bought the cream that has magnesium, and you can actually rub it into the bottom of your feet before you go to sleep, and that helps you sleep better. But also taking the actual supplement, the vitamin magnesium before you go to sleep, is supposed to help as well. Those are my main things that I'm doing right now. And so that's what I can share.
Well, and I agree with that. From the exercise perspective, not recently, it's been 6 months. In November of last year, I hired a personal trainer and nutritionist to help me meet some of my goals, right? And not even knowing how impactful it would be in helping me overcome some of these other things that I was experiencing, like the belly, and wanting to figure out how to overcome that. But, working with her has been really great. And if that's an investment that you can make, I,
Yeah.
highly recommend it, being guided and for, what you're going through. I mean, I'd had some health problems in the past that really affected some of the tone in my body. And so I was really looking forward to toning up, as well as, starting to lift in a way that supported, my goals, and, focusing more on that strength training was really important, but also honing in on the diet, right? We
Yep.
sometimes don't want to think about that, but our diets are really important as well, and figuring out what works for you, because it's going to be different for everyone. There is no one size fits all. So if you go to a doctor and they're telling you to do this, but they haven't really started to ask you questions about your lifestyle and what you're going through, then that's something that you really want to be aligned with, is someone who is asking you questions specifically about you, your health, and your lifestyle, making sure that they're doing the right things for you. But yeah, hiring a professional worked for me. And the next thing for me is learning how to swim. I'm not a swimmer. So I want to start, supplementing my workouts with swimming.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. I'm excited not only to learn, but also for that to be another form of exercise.
Yeah. So it's great exercise.
Yeah, there's so many different ways, but there's recommended amounts of movement that we need to be doing every day, because as you grow, and Amanda alluded to this, like bone density is super important, maintaining that, but even just being able to do the things like reach up in a kitchen cabinet or squat if you drop something, or picking up a box. And so that's why the strength training is so important, because it allows your body to be able to do all those things that we take for granted when we were younger. But now that we're starting to get older, those knees and elbows and all those things start like snapping and crackling.
So
it's so true. You're right. I remember, Courtney, we were talking about upping your protein, and then collagen, right? Taking some collagen. That was one thing I forgot to say. And I remember we were talking about the protein, and like really focusing on how much protein you get. And even right now, I feel like I could be doing better with that personally, making sure I get the recommended amount with each meal, and I'm not always on point with that. And I do think it's really important to be thinking about that, how you can get your protein in, whether it's like adding it to your smoothie, or having a protein shake, or getting that collagen in. We really need to be thinking about that now, so
Absolutely.
Big time.
We're living longer, right?
Yeah.
Longevity.
Yes.
And you want to be able to still move and maintain your independence physically.
Yeah.
And so that requires us to be a little bit more intentional about our movement and the things that we're doing before we get there. Because once you get there, it's a little too late. You got to start now.
We have to start now, so we can, it's like preventative, right? So the knees, they say the knees go because you're not have enough collagen in your diet. So I just think in the current diet that we eat, not like us specifically, but just in our culture, it's not geared towards that. And so we're lacking those things now. So we have to really be intentional about it, making sure we're getting that stuff in, because you're right, we're living longer. And so our body needs to, have all the nutrients it needs to be fit and,
absolutely
flexible.
And I know when we talk about our tummies, our core is very important, because it supports our whole bodies, right?
So
like our posture, our back, all those different things really is about the core. That's what my trainer has taught me. And so working that, it's not as much the physical part of it as it is our diet, right? So that's why the nutrition and the working out or the strength training go hand in hand. And it's important to find that perfect balance for you. So, and something that's sustainable, right? Because that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. We can jump on all the trends and do all the things, but if it's not sustainable for you and your lifestyle, you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to maintain it. So find those things that, get you excited and that you can, do on a consistent basis over, you build it as a habit, right? So it's
Yes.
not just something
Small
you're
steps
doing
to make
just to
great
get, but
habits.
you start to build those habits and then it becomes like second nature.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And then for me, for what I've been noticing, and I'm the vegan of the group, and full transparency, I hope that doesn't offend or not offend anyone listening, watching, but for me, it's really hard to get protein. It's really hard to get collagen. And that's like something huge, huge for me that I have to be very mindful of. And, getting something with like the smoothie or like some tofu, some tempeh, beans, and like really upping that. And I do find that like being a vegan, going through this is just even more fun in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's just something that you like have to be very mindful of. And so I do yoga, and I've, had to up that to Pilates with some more, weight training to make sure that, the mindset piece of it for me and then the strength piece of it are, keeping me healthy and keeping me going. And then for me, a supplement actually too that I really like, and I think I'm going to absolutely murder what this is actually called. So I love, it's called DIM supplement, D as in dog, I as in in, and M as in Molly. Dimethylane, dimethylane. Yeah, exactly. No one knows. So it helps balance estrogen metabolism. So while it's like going all nutty, and I also had the joy, just really sharing now of having the cystic acne, the hormonal
Mm-hmm.
acne that happens for some of us ladies with
Mm-hmm.
perimenopause, menopause. And I myself, through doing adapalene gel and some different supplements and changing up my diet and sugar. Sugar is the root of all evil. Soapboxing right now, sugar inflammation, bad. It's very bad. It's in all of our food. It's very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Soapboxing, but less sugar and unfortunately less alcohol that we've all now unfortunately found out is even
Mm-hmm.
worse for us than we
Yeah.
already knew it was.
Yeah.
But there are
Yeah,
small,
moderation for sure.
glasses of
Mm-hmm.
wine in life that as you're going through perimenopause and menopause, you need. So, but yeah, taking all of everything into account and, keeping your body healthy, all the supplements, keeping everything going and keeping your mindset, keeping your style so that you love it and you still show up confidently and, are able to, just deal and or maybe like make the best of all of these
Yeah.
wonderful changes because as Courtney was saying, we are living longer and it's,
Mm-hmm.
the blessing in disguise that we're all living longer and now we have more fun and more time to go through all of this. So
Absolutely.
Yes.
yeah, I would love to
And
hear like any last words of wisdom for your ladies.
well, sleep is one thing we didn't
Sleep
discuss, which is
and
super
water.
important, right? And
One
and
water.
it can't go understated. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I can sleep later, but sleep is really what
It's
sustains
huge,
us
even
and
more
allows our
so.
bodies to refuel, and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot skimp on it.
No,
You might
especially,
think I can do
yep,
5 hours, but you really need to really pay attention to you. So there are tools where you can track your sleep
Yes.
that will help you learn about the quality of your sleep
yep,
as
yep.
well.
You can get
And
the
those,
over
yeah,
ring or Oura ring.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to pay attention to that. I am one who personally with my sleep. I really on weekends I'm a little bit lenient, but I think it's important
Mm-hmm.
for us to be consistent all week long because that's what keeps us going.
Yes.
But sleep is not something that we need to either feel is like a luxury. It's
Right.
actually a necessity.
Yes,
It's a
very much so.
necessity for sure. And if you have the hot flashes like I have, and I started to get bad for me because then I was getting them at night. Okay. And then I couldn't sleep well. And I've never had sleep issues. I'm always a pretty sound sleeper, a light sleeper, but I sleep well. And once
Mm.
I started getting that and it was disrupting my sleep, I was like, okay, now I'm
You're
not
like,
happy.
no.
That's again, yeah.
No.
Yep.
So that's when I just recently started taking Vioza, and that has been life changing. But again, I'm still new at it. And, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just going to share that that has been helpful to me because I
And
have
this is
hot
not a paid
flashes.
ad. This is just personal.
No, but I did speak to my doctor, and that's what we decided to start with. It
Yep.
is a non-hormonal um, prescription, and so you do have to get it from your doctor. But again, there are lots of options out there.
Right.
So, you got to do what's best for you and honestly be your own advocate. That would be my final
Mhm.
tip. Be your own advocate because, like I said, nobody is coming to tell you what you're going to go
No.
through or
Yeah.
how to help you. Like, it's
No.
not happening. You are on your own. So we got to talk about it. That's why we're talking about it today because look, we're going through it and our clients are going through it. And so if you're listening right now and you're dealing with it, we'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
And feel free to reach out if you don't want to put it, in the comments. You can reach
Sure.
out to any of us personally, and we can try to help the best that we can. We're just sharing from our own experiences,
Right. Right.
so you don't have to take it like, okay, this is the thing, but we're just all sharing what's worked for us and what we think would be helpful for those listening. So we hope this
Yes.
was a good one today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please let us know. Comments, questions, anything. And for my last bit, every lady, you deserve a new bra. So after you listen to this, go get yourself a new bra. You deserve it. Maybe even matching knickers if you'd like. But
Yes, little
yes, feel
set.
free. Reach out. If you would love to work with one of us, all of us, we would love to help. We all work in person and virtually with Tavia in the New York City area, myself in the Philly area, and Courtney in the Atlanta area. So love to hear from you, and let us know if you like the off-topic special editions that we
Yes.
do that still
Mhm.
include style. So let us
Mhm.
know if you have one you would like us to cover.
Please do. We'd love to hear
Yeah.
from you. Drop your comments. And until next time, we'll
Yep.
see you
See
Bye,
soon.
you.
everyone.
Bye.